Academy of Vedic Sciences welcome you all to the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Today is the day 11. Yesterday we have covered chapter 12. Today there are two chapters will be covered, chapter 13 and 14. To take us through these two chapters, we have with us Mohan ji. All of you are familiar with Mohan ji. Mohan ji is an excellent teacher, and his question and answer sessions are amazing. And he is well known for taking up challenging questions, and he explained them with a scientific basis. Without taking much time, we welcome Mohan ji to take over to the today's session. Over to you, Mohan ji.
Hare Krishna. So welcome everybody. I hope I'm audible and you can see my screen. Just a quick check on the classroom guidelines.
Yeah.
Jai Govind Prabhu, the screen is visible, right?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, fantastic. And hopefully I'm audible. So we will not go through these classroom guidelines again. I think everybody is already aware of all of these and have been an excellent audience. These are, like we said, for those who are joining in new today, all of the material, everything you can get it at bit.do/essence of Gita. This is the website. Yeah, so you can get all the materials there. So today we are going to cover two chapters, chapter 13 and chapter 14. Yeah, so nature, enjoyer, and consciousness, and the three modes of material nature. Yeah, and we've seen over the last 11 days, where we covered, 10 days, where we covered the 12 chapters, how Krishna is describing what Bhakti Yoga is in the last 6 chapters, and the very first 6 chapters, he talks about Karma Yoga. So now from 13 to 18, this section is called the Jnana Yoga section. Yeah, and we will be seeing details around Jnana Yoga, and we will discuss this in a bit of detail from today on. So let's all pray to our Guru. Om Adnyanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So like I said, the overall Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 large sections. Chapter 1 to 6, Karma Yoga, 7 to 12, Bhakti Yoga, and 13 to 18 is Jnana Yoga. So many times, many of the people think that because Krishna has covered Jnana Yoga in the end, Jnana Yoga is much superior. Yeah? But Srila Prabhupada beautifully explains that knowledge has to be applied. Yeah, and the application of the knowledge is in the Bhakti Yoga, the action part. So therefore, the Gaudiya Vaishnava considers Bhakti Yoga as the crux and the core of the teachings of Bhakti Yoga, of the Bhagavad Gita. And therefore, we consider this overall Bhagavad Gita as a sandwich, whereas the core is in the between, and the other two are the supporting elements. So let's see what chapter 13 and 14 hold for us. Like we always do, chapter 13, acronym to remember you is WISE. WISE because wise question and answers are being asked by Arjuna. After hearing about devotional service, Arjuna now wants to know something more. He wants to know where the jiva comes from. Yeah, who is the knower of the field? Who is the knower of the body? And all of these questions that he wants to ask. Yeah. Then Krishna, obviously, like we said, question and answer, answers all the questions of Arjuna, and these are covered under items of knowledge. So I is the second part of this particular chapter. Then you have the super soul, description of super soul, Krishna answering further the answers on who is the object of knowledge. Why? What is the real object of knowledge? What is knowable? What is to be known? Yeah. And Krishna then finally ends up this section with the acronym where we decrypt the acronym called E, which is the enjoyer. Who is the real enjoyer? We all think the Purusha or we are the real enjoyer, whereas Krishna describes who the real enjoyer is. So without much further ado, let's go to section A. Arjuna 6 questions. Arjuna asks, yeah, what is Prakriti? Prakritim cha Purusham Kshetram, Kshetrajnam, Jnanam, and Nyayam. Yeah. So what is material nature? Who is the enjoyer of material nature? The Purusham. Yeah. The Kshetra, where is the Jiva acting? Where is he acting? Where has he come from? Yeah. The Kshetrajnam, the field of activities. What are the activities that the Jiva or the soul does? Then what is knowledge? And what is the object of knowledge? So these are the 6 questions that Arjuna wants to know about. And Krishna directly starts answering. Yeah. One of the first things he answers is, who is the Kshetrajna? Yeah. Or the owner of the body, or the Kshetra, who is playing there? Who is playing? Is the soul who is playing. And what is the Kshetra? Where is the soul playing? Is with the body. The body is the Kshetra, and the Kshetrajna, or the owner of the body, is the soul. That is the first knowledge that Krishna gives. Of course, Krishna has already talked about the soul in the 2nd chapter in detail. So now Krishna is talking about further activities of the soul. Yeah. And yeah, so Kshetrajna, the body, and Kshetra, the body, Kshetrajna, the knower of the field, who knows about the field. Yeah. And if you see, specifically, Krishna talks about why does the soul get this particular body? Why is the soul get entrapped in this body? Is what Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna. Yeah. So that is what we will see in this particular. So everybody is clear what those 6 questions are. We will see now Krishna's answers to all of these aspects. Yeah. So Krishna describes in chapter 3. So while we go through this, one of the things I would request all of you to do is open up your Bhagavad Gitas, and while we are scrolling through this, maybe you can also scroll through the verses specifically, because I have not put in the verses here. Of course, because this is the essence of Gita course, we don't go much in detail, but we will just going to skim through. But it will be great if you can read the verses, the translation of the verses while this description is going on. So, so Krishna describes, yeah, what is knowledge? Knowledge is to know the field of activity, which is the body, and the 2 types of knowers. So in the beginning, Krishna talks about the 1 type of knower, which is the soul. He then expands this particular knowledge to say that there is one more knower of the field. And who is the one more knower of the field? Which is the super soul. Yeah? So every body that is there consists of, inside is controller, the soul is the controller, and also the super soul is there. And both of them know the body. Yeah? So that is what the understanding here is. That is what Krishna is giving. And many people therefore consider that the soul and the super soul is the same. Yeah. But whereas the shloka very clearly delineates this particular aspect. Yeah. So many times what happens? A rope is misunderstood to be a serpent. Yeah. Yeah. So a person who is in darkness, he will think if a rope is there, if he holds the rope, he thinks it's a serpent, he might get scared. Yeah. So like that, many times, many of the people who do not know who the real knower of the body is, they think that there is only one individual soul is there and the super soul is there, and both of them are the same. Yeah. But real knowledge is to differentiate between these 2, and that is what Krishna explains in this particular chapter further as we go. Yeah. So he clearly differentiates that there are 2 knowers of the body. Yeah. One knower is the soul, you know your body, and there is also super soul sitting inside your body, and he is also knowing you. Yeah. So Jivatma and Paramatma. Yeah. The soul is infinitesimally small. Yeah. Whereas the super soul is infinite, Vibhu. And we're going to see in a minute how this particular aspect is explained. The individual soul knows only his own body, whereas the super soul knows about everybody's, because he is sitting in every soul. The same super soul who's sitting in every person's body. Yeah. Or every Jiva's body, even animals, trees, everywhere. Yeah. The soul is considered to be a secondary proprietor, whereas the super soul is the primary proprietor. It's the example is given to explain this is like a citizen owning a piece of land. Yeah, the original piece of land is owned by the government or by the king, and they've only given temporary ownership to the citizen. Yeah. So same thing, we as souls have got temporary ownership of this body. And the idea is to use this body for specific purposes. So if you've got animalistic body, animal body, it's for specific purpose. A tree body for specific purpose. A human body is also for a specific purpose. Yeah. So it's considered, a human body is considered to be a very, very rare achievement for a soul. So we've all very, very rare people or rare souls who have got this human body, and we need to know the right use of this body. Then the soul, therefore, also is a secondary controller of the senses, whereas the Lord is the supreme controller of the senses. That's why it's called Rishikesha. Yeah. So the activity that the citizens do is the king is the original controller of the activities. In similar way, the soul is the controller. Yeah. And of course, the soul, super soul, is the master. Yeah. And we are the servitors. And there are innumerable living entities. Whereas even though the super soul is living in everybody's heart, is only one. Yeah. So there's one super soul. So a very quick example to understand this aspect is, imagine it's very cloudy and it's rained, and everywhere there are puddles of water. Yeah. And then the clouds goes away and the sun comes there. Now, when the sun comes in, you can see the sun in each of the puddle. There's a reflection of the sun in each of the puddle. You can say the sun is there in the reflection, in each of the reflection is there. Whereas the sun is there in the sky also. Yeah? So sky, there is one sun, but there is reflection of the puddles in the puddles. So there is sun there also, sun there also. Yeah. So that's how the understanding of the super soul is. It's the reflection of the supreme personality of Godhead. But because the supreme personality of Godhead, Krishna, is omnipresent, yeah, the soul or the super soul in our heart and the super soul and in everybody's heart is the single person only. It's the same sun everywhere. That is the very short understanding of, to understand who the super soul is and how the super soul is differentiated in each of our souls. Yeah. And therefore, Krishna then further explains in chapter 4 how the body is constituted and what the body undergoes. This is the shloka. Krishna is going to say that I'm going to explain you all of these things. Identity of the knower of the field of activities. Yeah, when and how the body is produced. What is the influence of the knower on each of these? That's what Krishna is now going to explain. Krishna then cites authorities. So Krishna also, he doesn't say that, oh, this I have, I'm just giving you this. Even as a Supreme Lord, he gives authorization. This is where the knowledge is. He quotes the Vedanta Sutra. He says Vyasadeva and all of the other things, are all of these knowledge is available from the Vedanta Sutra. And especially if we refer to the Taittiriya Upanishad, that Taittiriya Upanishad specifically talks about all of these aspects. Yeah. And even the Lord therefore refers to this aspect of Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Yeah? So this is the litmus test for anybody who is listening to or taking knowledge. Yeah. We have to keep our eyes open. It's not that we just blindly accept somebody, whatever he says. We have to have a little bit of litmus test, which is this person saying, is it authorized? Is it being said by sadhus in Vedic writings? Is the Shastra, the writings of the Vedanta Sutra, also talking about the same thing? And is my own Guru, is he talking about the same thing? So when all these three are in nice conjunction, you can then know, yes, this Guru is authorized. He is representing Krishna perfectly. That is what the understanding, that is how the litmus test is. Yeah. So then Krishna, of course, in verses 6 and 7, talks about all of these aspects. And we've seen this earlier in a little bit of detail, but here Krishna talks about a lot of things from this. He talks about the Panchabhuta, the Janmendriya, the Vishayas, and the Karmendriyas. Yeah, so the 5 gross elements, we've all seen gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Yeah, then the Jnanendriyas, yeah, the knowledge acquiring senses, which is the eyes, ear, nose, tongue, skin. We acquire knowledge through these senses. Now, these knowledge acquiring senses interact with the Vishaya or the object of the senses. Yeah, so the eyes enjoy the form, ears enjoy sound, nose enjoys the smell, tongue enjoys the taste, and skin enjoys the touch. Yeah, so Rupa, Shabda, Gandha, Rasa, and Sparsha. These are the 5, the Vishayas, which is the objects of the senses. Yeah, and basically all of these are executed through the working senses. Yeah, the entire body, yeah, is which is the hands, legs, voice, anus, and the genitals. Now, this is equated to a chariot. So if you have a chariot, there are the 5 horses, which are the senses. So these are the 5 horses. And these 5 horses are running behind all of these sense objects. They are trying to enjoy here. And there's a lagam, there's a reins. And the reins is the mind, yeah, which is here, which will come. And the mind is held by the intelligence. Yeah, the intelligence is holding the mind. Yeah, and you have the soul, yeah, which is the passenger in this chariot. Yeah, and the chariot's body, the wheels and all of that are the working senses. So this is how the overall senses is depicted in our shastra. Yeah, and basically the subtle body, yeah, or subtle elements are the mind, the intelligence, and the false ego. Yeah, and we have the contaminated consciousness chitta as the 14th. So like this, in all there are 24 elements that are there as these are the field of activities. This is what we play with. Basically the soul plays with all of these things in when it is executing its activities, or when the body is executing the activities. Because of the three modes of nature, the soul is sitting there and going through all of these particular things. Yeah, so yeah, therefore these are the 24 elements. Same thing. Typically what happens to the soul or any living entity, it gets born, then it grows, it stays for some time, it produces offspring, it dwindles, and then it dies. So these are the 6 elements, 6 changes that the body or the material body undergoes. And while these changes are going on, there are interactions that happen. And the interactions produce what? They produce desire and hatred, they produce happiness and distress. Yeah. And because the living entity is there, what happens? The living entity gets entangled in all of these consciousness. Yeah. And because the living entity gets entangled, it starts to think that it is the body. Yeah. And it starts to think that because I'm the body, all that I've produced is mine. Yeah. And that's how it kind of starts getting entangled in a spider web like a thing. And then finally it kind of gets totally entangled in this material world. Yeah. Yeah. So that's what Krishna further and Srila Prabhupada in the purports describe. Yeah, about all of the field of activities, all of these components which we have seen. Yeah, pradhana, the basis of knowledge, the 6 changes of the body, which we have seen very short in this particular slide. So that's where the first part of the W finishes, and we come to the next part, which is the I, the items of knowledge. Yeah. So Krishna now describes here 20 elements of knowledge. And he says anything beyond this is just ignorance. It is not important. So we're going to see what those 20 elements are very quickly. Yeah. And basically, how do you get this particular knowledge? It's through the guru. Yeah. And there are, of course, many gurus, many types of gurus. One of the most important types of guru that is there is the Chaitya Guru, means the guru who is living in your heart. And who is that? That is Lord Krishna himself. The super soul is also called the Chaitya Guru. And he's sitting inside the heart and is giving you direction. Now, whether we listen to that or we don't listen to that is a subject matter of a separate discussion, but that's one of the gurus. Yeah. And of course, there is a manifestation, physical manifestation of the guru, who is the Diksha Guru or the Siksha Guru, the guru who is giving you knowledge, and the guru who is giving you initiation into this particular knowledge. Yeah. So that is how the knowledge is acquired, through the guru. Yeah. So that is what the process of acquiring knowledge was. And we are going to see what is the test. How do we know whether I'm acquiring knowledge, and how am I progressing? Yeah. So progression is judged through something called as what qualities are we acquiring? Am I getting humble? Am I getting prideless? Those are the things which are indicators. So typically in management, we say what are KPIs, key process indicators, whether there is key performance indicators, whether am I progressing or not. So these are the indicators that you should be testing yourself against. And this is what we will see what those 20 qualities are. So I'm going to not go in detail. Yeah, it's a subject matter of a big discussion. We could spend 3-4 days just discussing all these 21, but we're going to just see it in very slight, just as an overview. And the first knowledge which Krishna says is humility. Yeah, humility is to not be anxious, to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. Yeah. So typically, what happens many times, many people, they all want to be accepted that, oh, how great he is. Yeah. So even now when I'm talking, I'm thinking, oh, how great I am. 200 people are listening to me. Wow, I'm so great. Yeah. So this is the honor for others. Yeah. And every time, even before I sat here, I kind of think, oh, will I be doing nice? Will people be accepting me? Yeah. So that is the kind of anxiousness I have. Yeah. Now humility is what? To not have this anxiousness, to know that whatever I am, whichever way I am, people will accept me and I should be accepted, is, or even if I don't get accepted, I'm fine. Yeah? And that leads to pridelessness. So if one has humility, it automatically leads to pridelessness. And because you're prideless, you are also therefore non-violent. Yeah, that's how the progression goes. And non-violence, beautiful description of non-violence. There is a physical aspect of, or a material aspect of non-violence, and a spiritual aspect of non-violence. Material aspect of non-violence is not to put somebody in distress, or not to hurt anybody or whatever. Everybody understands that. Yeah. But Srila Prabhupada so beautifully delineates non-violence as that when you don't give knowledge about who the person is, about the knowledge of the soul, when we don't distribute real knowledge, that is what violence is. Yeah. So by not distributing knowledge, you're actually creating violence onto others. Yeah. So therefore, distributing this knowledge is the biggest amount of non-violence. That is what the understanding is. Of course, then tolerance comes in. Tolerance leads to simplicity. These are all simple, straightforward understandings. Then comes accepting a spiritual master. Yeah. So how to approach a spiritual master with all these qualities. Yeah. And then following all of these processes, what the spiritual master's instructions. Yeah. And then comes to cleanliness. Yeah. Because you've now accepted a spiritual master tells you to do chanting. Yeah, chanting is the Hare Krishna mantra, the japa that you do, which does an internal cleanliness. Yeah, and then you have, of course, you're bathing, you're getting up early in the morning. All of that is your external cleanliness. Then comes steadiness, thairyam. Yeah, to make determined progress in spiritual life, to get to complete understanding and complete faith that I have to progress. I don't want to take birth again. So what I should be doing, and this is what is required. Therefore, steadily, I am like a tortoise progressing towards my goal of getting liberated. Yeah, self-control, obviously same. Then renunciation of sense objects. Yeah, so like we said in the second chapter, a Sthitadhir Muni, or somebody who is really controlled, what does he do? He acts like a tortoise. Only when it is required, the tortoise brings his senses out. When he sees danger, he pulls it back. Same thing, the person in knowledge, he knows that if my senses are outside, and if they're trying to enjoy all of the senses, I might get entangled. Yeah. So he kind of pulls back his senses at this point of time. And that is what the renunciation of sense object means. It doesn't mean tyaga. It means using the senses for the right set of things so that it helps you to progress in Krishna consciousness. It's a systematic regulation. That is what the renunciation of senses means. Absence of false ego, ahankara, understanding that I am not the body, and accepting that I am a servant of Krishna. That is what my real nature is. Then to understand that birth, old age, disease, death is really the bad thing, which is why many people, they gave me feedback saying that why are we repeating all of this birth, old age, diseases again and again and again? It is because of this. Krishna specifically explains this particular aspect, that we should be very clear that birth, old age, disease, death is a problematic thing. And we have to be really very perceptive about how not to take birth again. Yeah, that's what the message. He says very beautifully in that particular shloka, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Doshanu Darshanam. We should be aware of the evils of birth, old age, disease, and death. Automatically detachment. Yeah. So if we are renouncing sense objects, we get detachment and we are ready to sacrifice everything for our sense gratification for Krishna. Not entanglement with wife, children. So basically, it doesn't mean you don't have to do the duty. It means you are doing the duty as a satisfaction, as a process to take them towards Krishna. So you have a duty to also take them towards Krishna. That's what you are doing. Even-mindedness, samachittatvam. Yeah, unalloyed devotional service, ananya bhakti towards the Lord. Yeah, and we will see that in the next page. What is the ananya bhakti? The 9 processes. We probably discussed it earlier also. Then aspiring to live in a solitary place. That doesn't mean you have to really go into a solitary place. It means that even though I'm here, this is why I am not associating with and not taking other people's association, whereas I am giving association. So even though you're here, you're actually like in a solitary place, whereas you're not taking association, you're giving association. Yeah. And detachment from the general masses. Yeah, of course, it doesn't mean that you kind of just go away. Of course, not a problem if you're able to do that. But we use the principle of yukta vairagya. Yeah, we are staying here and still giving knowledge association to everybody and getting detached from them. accepting the importance of self-realization, adhyatma jnana. So to give up all of this particular unnecessary sense gratification to understand. And the 20th aspect of knowledge is the philosophical search for the absolute truth, tattva jnanartha darshanam. So Krishna clearly declares in this verses saying that all of the above is knowledge, and besides this, whatever there is may be ignorance. This is direct Krishna's words in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, that's what he says. He's saying these are the 20 things which is we should be knowing about. When Arjuna is asking a direct question, what is knowledge? Krishna talks about that this is knowledge. And of course, the 9 processes, that's what we saw, unalloyed devotional service, point number 16 here that we saw, is we've seen this picture, all of this, these particular aspects, which begins with hearing. Yeah, so hearing, chanting and glorifying, remembering, serving the Lord's feet, deity worship, praying, becoming Krishna's servant, then his friend, and complete surrender unto Krishna. Yeah, this is the 9 processes, begins with hearing. So we've all started the process of hearing. Shravanam kirtanam vishnoho, smaranam pada sevanam, archanam vandanam dasyam, sakhyam atma nivedanam. Yeah, that is the 9 processes that are described by Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam. So then Krishna goes ahead. Krishna asks about Krishna answers Arjuna's direct question about who is the object of knowledge. Yeah, who should be knowing? What is the object of knowledge? And Krishna very clearly says that object of knowledge is to know who you are, the soul. Yeah, who is the super soul, and what is the relationship between them. Yeah, so that's called sambandha gyan. Yeah, that's the first type of knowledge that Krishna talks about. Sambandha gyan. Then there is secondary aspect called the abhideya, and the third one is the prayojan. So Krishna talks about super soul and the interactions and the relationship between the soul and the super soul. Yeah, that's what is the object of knowledge. Is Krishna what talks about? Yeah, nayam. That's what he says. This is nayam. Arjuna's answer to 6th question: who is the knowable? The soul and the super soul are the real objects to be known. That is what is Krishna's opinion and Krishna's direct instruction. Yeah, and what are the benefits? The benefits is that we can really know and relish the nectar of life. We really know who we are in the right position, and we can therefore enjoy without getting entangled in this karma bandhana. That is what is the understanding here. Yeah, and like we saw, super soul is all pervading. Yeah, so Krishna talks about super soul. What is the quality of the super soul? He's all pervading. He is everywhere. Krishna as the super soul is everywhere. He's there in everybody's soul. Many times we feel, I need help. Yeah, and then automatically what will happen? Somebody will come and help you in some way or the other. And many people have told me these experiences in many times that they are in real some trouble and they've really prayed sincerely to God, and automatically they've got help from somewhere. And you also must have got these experiences. That is what is the concept of super soul. We all think, oh, it's coincidence and somebody helped me, but there is a science behind coincidence. And that science behind coincidence is the concept of Paramatma. And the Paramatma, because you have sincerely prayed to Krishna, he is acting to the Paramatma. He is coming through some other body and he is helping you. Because your Paramatma communicates the other person's Paramatma, and you will that person helps you in some manner or the other, or there is some interaction which kind of tells you, oh, this was something which I was not aware of. Yeah, that's what Srila Prabhupada and the concept of super soul Krishna explains in this 14th verse. Then the other aspect of super soul is that he is transcendental. Now, what does that transcendental mean? It means that he is not in this material world. He's not of the material world, actually speaking. Yeah. And because our body is fully material, our senses are material, we cannot perceive something which is not material, or we cannot perceive something which is spiritual. And therefore, we need to get this special eyes, like Arjuna got the special eyes. Shastra Chakshu is what we have to accept. Who gives the Shastra Chakshu? Our Guru. Yeah. So when the Guru, like here, Srila Prabhupada through the Bhagavad Gita, he is our Shiksha Guru here. He is giving this particular knowledge. Through Srila Prabhupada, we are able to understand all of these particular aspects. Yeah, that there is Krishna, there is something of these particular aspects. All of this, how are we getting to know? Through Shastra Chakshu. We are seeing that because we are using our knowledge through the Shastra, through the scriptures. That is what Krishna is talks about. That's why that he's transcendental. He's beyond. It transcends the modes. He's beyond the modes. That's what the other aspect of super soul is. So first aspect of super soul is all pervading. Second is that super soul is transcendental. Last one is super soul is all reconciling. Yeah, which means everything that happens here is reconciled by the Lord. Yeah, that is what is clearly explained in our Shastras. Yeah? Vedic literatures explain that Narayana is residing both outside and inside of every living entity, present in both the spiritual world and the material world. So he's far away and he's also very near. So right now he's sitting in my heart, but maybe because I'm so much in ignorance, I'm not able to access him. So therefore, I find him very far away. Many people, that's what happens. Ignorance is the cause of all our problems. Because we don't know that Krishna is there to help us, we are kind of in ignorance. So, and another aspect is Krishna, the super soul is undivided. So the normal conception is, oh, super soul is here, super soul is there, so therefore super soul is divided everywhere. Yeah, that's what we feel. But the understanding is super soul is undivided. And how is that division? So the analogy that I gave you about the sun. Yeah, so the sun is there in the sky, but his reflections are there everywhere. So you can see sun here also, sun there also, sun there also, sun is there everywhere. But sun is there in the sky also. Yeah. So that is the undivided aspect of the super soul. Yeah. That is what we have to understand. Many people think, oh, super soul is divided, therefore his quality is also divided. No, super soul is undivided here. And although he appears divided, he is situated as one. And he is called the maintainer, Upadrishta and Anumanta. He is sitting there in my heart and giving permission. He is permitting all of these activities of the soul. Yeah. And super soul is the source of all knowledge and enlightenment. Yeah, which is why he's called the Chaitya Guru. Yeah. So many times the super soul is equated to the intelligence. Yeah. And many times oh, this thing is wrong. I should not be doing this. But still you go ahead and do it. That is a separate matter. But who is this person who's telling you from inside? It is a super soul who's telling you. Yeah. He's there. He's kind of telling you, this is, don't do this, do this, do this. Yeah. He's situated in everyone's heart. And he's telling that these are the right thing to do and these are not the right things to do. Yeah? And all of this is explained in our scriptures. Yeah, the Shvetashvatara Upanishad talks about this particular aspect. Yeah, and Krishna then comes in to tell that who can understand this. Yeah, what is the qualification? The qualification is he says that the devotee, he has to be my devotee, Mad Bhakta. Yeah, Mad Bhakta is my devotee. Mad is my. Of course, if you read as mad bhakta, that is also fine, because you have to be mad in Krishna's love. That is how you will really understand this particular aspect of Kshetrajna, Jnana and Niyam. The Kshetra, Kshetrajna, Jnana and Niyam. Yeah? Kshetra is the field of activities, which is the entire body. Kshetrajna, the two Kshetrajnas are there, soul and the super soul. Jnana is the knowledge and the process of acquiring knowledge. We saw the 20 different aspects of knowledge. And Nyayam, the object of knowledge. What will he do with this Jnana? The Jnana has to be applied, right? To know what? To know who Krishna is, who the object of knowledge is. Yeah, that is what the conclusion of this particular section is. Yeah, that the soul and the super soul are the knowable. Yeah? Super soul is the ultimate object to be known. So that is what we all and the yogis and everybody are trying to. What are they trying to do? They're trying to perceive the Lord through their yogic processes. Yeah, the devotees, what do? They do it through devotional service. The karma yogis, they try to do it through karma yoga. So there are different processes that are there through which God can be perceived. Yeah, and we have to go through these particular processes to really understand God. Then Arjuna's question around who is Prakriti, who is Purusha, how does it happen, is what Krishna answers in this particular section. Yeah, and Prakriti, Purusha, and the union and the entire. If you see this picture, yeah, this is how the soul comes in. What happens to the soul? Birth, old age, disease, death happening. It is taking these various different species. Yeah, so the soul, the species, there are yonis. They are called. Each soul, it can enjoy through these yonis. How many yonis are there? They are 84 lakh yoni, which means 8.4 million different types of bodies are there, which the soul tries to enjoy. Oh, I like swimming. Okay, take the body of a fish. Oh, I like flying. Here, take the body of a bird. Yeah. So like that, whatever enjoyments you have, whatever desires you have are fulfilled through this body. Yeah. And that is the cause of why we take a body, because the jiva has lot of desires. Yeah. His original desire of serving Krishna, he says, no, no, I don't want to serve Krishna. I want to serve myself. And therefore, he goes through all of these particular bodies. So his own desire, which causes all of the different bodies that is is get. That's what is described in this particular chapter, this particular section of the 13th chapter. Yeah, yeah. So many aspects. I'm not going to do a lot of details. So one of the things many people will question as to why the eternal living entity falls down into the material world. Yeah. So why have I come here? Many people want to ask this now, as if I am a super soul, if I am a spirit soul, then how did I come here? How did I get this body? Yeah. So many times this is the question that is gets asked, and Krishna describes that it is due to rebellious nature. We have rebelled against the Lord there. Yes, he says, Krishna, I don't want to serve you. I want to serve myself. Why are you only enjoying? I want to enjoy. So when this false ego comes in, that is when Krishna creates, okay, no problem. I am your eternal well-wisher. Please, I create this material world for you. Go and try to enjoy. Yeah, that is what the Supreme is trying to help us to enjoy as much as we can here. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's what is the cause of happiness and distress. So we also saw in the objects of knowledge, yeah, that there is a cause of happiness and distress, which is the misidentification that I am the body, yeah, and the tendency to enjoy. Yeah, that is what is the cause of happiness and distress. If I'm enjoying, yeah, I'm happy. If I don't get my happiness, yeah, I get angry. Yeah, and I kind of get distressed. Oh, I'm not getting this, I'm not getting this. People fall into all of these depressions and all of this. Why? Because there is a tendency to enjoy, and we're going to see in a minute where that tendency comes from. Yeah. So Krishna describes that this is what happens because of a desire to enjoy. The soul forges a bond between Purusha and Prakriti, which means the Jiva here, the Purusha is called the Jiva, and Prakriti is material nature. Yeah, and material nature gives you this different types of bodies, so that you can try to enjoy as much as you can. But we have seen here, we've seen in our current lives that however we try to enjoy, this enjoyment is always short-lived. We always want the next better thing. We always the next thing. So this enjoyment, there is no end to our desires. Yeah. So we are trying to be happy, but we're not getting happiness. Why? Because we are not in our original spiritual nature. So if a fish is kept out of water and you give it all the gold, you give it all the mithai, and you get all the best clothes, will the fish be happy? Even though he has all of these material things, he will not be happy. Where is his happiness? His happiness is going back into the water and enjoying the water, going back there. So that is how we also are. We are fish out of water. Where is our real happiness? The real happiness is in the spiritual world. And that is what we have to strive for. And only in the human form of life can you comprehend this. We say human forms are higher than, there is a higher intelligence in human beings. So if you see in nature, every feature of nature has a purpose. Yeah. So note my words. Every feature of nature has a purpose. Yeah. So if you see human beings and animals, they do these same four set of things: eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Yeah. So for human beings, intelligence is only for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Then it is not the right use of that intelligence. That purpose of intelligence is not fulfilled. So what is the real purpose of intelligence? The real purpose of intelligence is to understand all of this particular aspect as to why am I suffering? Yeah. How have I come here? Why am I suffering? And how do I get out of this suffering? If you answer these three questions, that is what the real purpose of intelligence is. That is what we have to understand, and we have to use our intelligence. We have to use this feature of nature that is given to us only in the human form of life. Yeah. In other forms of life, a dog cannot comprehend why it is getting beaten or why it is suffering so much. It just lives this life at all, as it is. But a human being understands this. But if we also shut that particular and use it only for eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, then we are nothing but but just Dvipat Pashu. Dvipat Pashu means two-legged animals. We're just biologically living as animals, and we are not become human beings. Yeah, that is what is the understanding here. Yeah, so this desire to enjoy is what we have to kind of control. Yeah, and because this desire to enjoy is what is causing us this different births, and every birth is causing old age, disease, and death. Yeah, so that is what we have to understand through this particular aspect of this particular chapter. Yeah, and that's when Krishna comes to the second aspect, whereas he describes the actual Purusha, who is the real enjoyer. Krishna says in this particular verse, if you are at chapter 23, that's I've copied that particular verse here. It says Upadrishtanu cha bharta bhokta maheshwaraha paramatmeti chapyukto dehe ismin purusha paraha. Yeah, and it says, yet in this body there is another transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known as the super soul. Yeah, so super soul he is the real enjoyer. We think we are the enjoyers. That is ignorance. It is Lord Krishna who is the real enjoyer. He is enjoying us. We are there to serve the Lord and give enjoyment to the Lord. Therefore, this concept of service is very important. And if you look at yourself, you are always serving somebody or the other. You're serving your employer, you're serving your wife, you're serving your husband, you're serving your children, you're serving your father, you're serving your mother. If not, if you don't have anybody, then people take in dogs and they serve their dogs. Yeah. So that is what our nature is. What is our original nature? To serve. Yeah. So therefore, when you give, you really feel a different kind of happiness. And that is the real constitutional position that you're in. And that is what an intelligent person understands, that I am not the enjoyer. There is somebody else who's the enjoyer. And therefore, when you serve somebody else, you're actually serving the Paramatma inside him. You're serving the Lord in him. And when you do that particular service, you don't get entangled. That's why. Yeah. So that is what is the understanding here. When you start understanding this particular aspect, that the real enjoyer is Krishna as Paramatma. Yeah? He is the real person, and he is who I should be serving. That is when you start to really act like a human being. So how does an intelligent person act? He places in faith in the Paramatma and begins to advance to a blissful eternal life of knowledge, which is to serve and to serve and to serve Krishna and to serve everybody else through this particular process. That's what Krishna talks about, and he in this aspect says that how do we get liberated? What is the benefit of understanding this philosophy? Is that we will get liberated. Liberated from what? From this body, from this birth, old age, disease, death, from all of these problems that we have. Yeah, that is how liberation comes in. When you really understand what material nature is, who the living entity is, the soul, and what is the interaction of this living entity and the material nature. Yeah. So when we know all of these particular aspects, when we know who the super soul is, that is when we really come to the process of knowledge and to start getting liberated. And of course, we saw this. We've seen Dhyana Yoga, we've seen Sankhya Yoga, we've seen Karma Yoga in our previous chapters. Yeah, and basically through these particular processes, we really come to know who Krishna is, or who the super soul is. Yeah, and of course, Krishna then establishes that bhakti is the best and the easiest process. Yeah. So we saw what bhakti was, or what this particular aspect is: Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam. So when you do this 9 steps, that's what bhakti is. Yeah. And he says this particular aspect through that when you start hearing with faith, yeah, that is when your process of bhakti begins. And he says it is easy. All you have to do is hear. That is what he's saying. Krishna also, when he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, all Arjuna did was hearing. Yeah. When he did his hearing, automatically all the other processes also start. Yeah. And we begin the process of worship of the Supreme once we start hearing about him from others. And that is what the entire process. Why are we doing this particular program also? So that everybody can come in and hear these particular aspects. Yeah. And try to understand all of these particular aspects and get the benefit of utilizing your intelligence for the right purpose, which is to understand as why am I suffering? how do I get out of the suffering, and what is the real goal of life. That is what this particular process is. So when you start doing bhakti, you really come to this particular understanding. Therefore, Krishna in the second chapter calls this thing as, he calls this buddhi yoga. Now, buddhi yoga, why? Because intelligence is to be applied here. That's what is the understanding. Yeah. And of course, our acharyas also explained. We heard about Lord Chaitanya yesterday, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came in and established all of this particular processes. And what has he stresses hearing. Yeah. So hearing, what is the best, who can you best hear? If you don't want to hear anybody else, hear yourself. And what you can hear from yourself? The Hare Krishna mantra. So the process of chanting Hare Krishna mantra is very simple. You have to chant and you have to hear. So only two things are required: your tongue and your ear. So Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. You are hearing. You have to hear. You have to ensure that you are hearing the mantra, because that is what really starts the entire process. Yeah, and because hearing is a natural process, it is also therefore the easiest. That is what Lord Chaitanya establishes, and he says this is the best process for going ahead in bhakti. And Krishna then comes into the last aspect of this particular chapter, which is the jnana chakshu, which is the vision of knowledge. Many times we say that you have to see through the eyes. No, you have to see through knowledge. When knowledge comes to you, you have a different understanding. That is what is this particular chapter about. Jnana chakshu is to realize that I am a spirit soul. Yeah, to realize that there is a super soul sitting inside me. To realize that there is a relationship between me and the super soul. That is what the jnana chakshu is. To see through the eyes of knowledge. Yeah, and to understand this particular aspect, that I am here in this material world and it is like a prison house. Yeah. So Krishna describes, and that's why if you see the Sanskrit word for a prison house is called a durg, durg or a fort. Yeah, durg. And who is the owner or the controller of the durg? She is Durga. Yeah. So Durga is the controller of the owner. She is the warden there, and she is controlling all the prisoners here in the material world. And when one of the material world is wanting to go out of the prison, then there is a check. Is this person really qualified to go out? So if, for example, many times there is a concept of a parole. Parole is that, okay, this particular person, he's behaved very well, we can let him go. He has kind of eliminated all his sins that he has done. Yeah, he's repentant, and we know he's repentant, so he can be a good citizen outside. So the parole, it's not that just by seeing that particular behavior, he's let go. There is a test that is taken. Yeah. So there is a parole board. A parole board takes the prisoner. They interview the prisoner. They understand each of these aspects. Many times the parole board rejects, saying, no, you are not qualified. We cannot let you out. So who's the parole board here? She is Durga, or she is Maya Devi. Yeah. She is the one who is looking at all of us, and she is looking who is sincere. And if you start showing sincerity, then you are to be tested. So many times what happens, people take to this process of bhakti yoga, and Maya Devi wants to test them. And as soon as she wants to test them, they get scared. They might get into some difficulty, and they think, oh, I took to this chanting of Hare Krishna and I got into so much difficulty. Yeah. Or many times it's the other way around. Many times you start chanting and maybe you might win the Mashtak Millionaire. And then what happens? You just then start enjoying the money and you forget about Krishna. Yeah. So this is what also, it could be either ways. That's what happens to this. And basically what happens then, you failed the parole board. You still then remain in this material world and go through the cycle again, through birth, old age, disease, death. Yeah. So this is what we have to understand in this particular aspect. Yeah. And to know this, that the super soul is always there with us, and he is the one who is going to help us in this particular process of going through the parole board and going through the entire process of getting liberated. Yeah. And therefore, one who sees, one who understands all of this, what does he do? He does not indulge in his senses. He does not become selfish. He starts to serve the Lord. This is the jnana chakshu that we all should have. What is the jnana chakshu? That if I start serving the Lord, if I don't be selfish and serve my senses, then I will automatically get liberated. That is what actual seeing is. Who is the actual seer? That is what Krishna describes in the 29th chapter. Yeah, and of course, what does happen? What happens when you're actuals here? Yeah, in short, we all get liberated. We all understand all of these particular aspects which I have described here just now. Yeah, and many times, what happens? We think that, oh, the soul and the super soul is same, and Krishna, therefore, to understand, make this distinction very clear, he gives two analogies there. Yeah, he gives the analogy that just as the sky is there in the material world, sky is everywhere. But does the sky get involved in each of these things? He doesn't. He's separate. Same thing like that. The super soul is everywhere, but he doesn't get involved in our activities. He's just watching. He's just looking there. So many times people think, oh, I am a spirit soul, and this body is just a bag of chemicals. So I'm not doing anything wrong. Whatever is doing, Krishna is doing. So why am I getting karma? Yeah. So we have to understand this particular aspect, that you can't apply that particular logic here because of this understanding. So last verse of this particular chapter is actually a summary verse. So Krishna gives in summary the entire particular this particular chapter summary. He says, Kshetra kshetranyor evam antaram jnana chakshusha bhuta prakriti moksham cha ye vidur yanti te param. Yeah, those who see with eyes of knowledge, jnana chakshu. This is the eyes of knowledge. What do we have to see? The difference between the body and the knower of the body. So how many knowers? Two knowers, the soul and the super soul, and the external body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature, attains to the supreme goal. Yeah. So in short, this is the summary of the 13th chapter. This is where 13th chapter ends, and Krishna then proceeds to go further to the 14th chapter as a further explanation to what are the things that are controlling the material body. Yeah, many times we think, oh, I'm just doing something not out of my control. Yeah, I want to get up in the morning, but somehow I'm not able to get. I just want to sleep. What is that force that is acting on me that is not allowing me to sleep? I know I should get up early in the morning. I should do jogging and so that I can be healthy, but I'm unable to do it. Why? Because of something that is controlling you. And what are those controls is what we will see in this chapter called the three modes of material nature. The three modes of material nature is what is controlling the body and the jivas living within the body. Yeah, that's what we will see. And interestingly, this particular the acronym for this chapter is called TRAP, trap. So I didn't put it specifically so you could try to realize this. Trap. We are trapped here, and Krishna describes in the sections here about what the three modes of nature are, and there's a race for prominence for each of these modes. The mode of goodness is wanting to become powerful, then the mode of ignorance and the mode of, so there's always a conflict. There is always a race for prominence. And what happens to actions in the modes? What happens to when we do different actions? Yeah, in the different modes, what is the result of those actions? And what happens when you transcend the modes? Yeah, when you don't act in either in the mode of goodness or in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance, what happens to you? That is, how do you go to pure life? That is the transcend. That's the last section that Krishna describes. So let's quickly look at this short chapter. Am I doing good on time? I'm slightly late, but we're going to finish it quite soon. Yeah, so this is what the understanding here is. To know who can transcend and reach Krishna. That is what the understanding of this particular chapter is. And knowing this, knowing about the three modes of nature, all the sages have attained perfection. So we also have to become like the sages so that we can attain perfection and get liberated from this particular material world. Yeah. So this is the benefit and importance of this particular knowledge. Yeah, that we get freedom from material entanglement. This is the biggest benefit that we will all have. And one comes to an understanding of devotional service. How to do those 9 steps of Bhakti Yoga. That is what we will come to understand. The biggest benefit of understanding the three modes of nature. Yeah? So the soul is placed. We've seen the entire picture. I showed you the big picture in an earlier chapter of the spiritual world and the material world, and how the soul is placed in the material world. Now, why it is come and all of that is a separate discussion. But once it comes here, it gets covered by the material modes. It gets covered by the 8 elements, which is Bhumir, Apo, Analo, Vayu, Kham. earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the three subtle elements, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. And while this is covered, it also gets covered by three ropes. Yeah, that's what Krishna explains in this particular chapter. That the three ropes are the bindings of the pure soul. And what are the three ropes? We will see that in a minute. Yeah. So three ropes. Yeah, you can see those three ropes controlling all of us here. Is what they bind us to get. This is how they get the soul conditioned or entrapped in this particular material world. They are called the mode of goodness, the mode of ignorance, mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. Sattva, Tamo, and Rajo. Yeah, and this is one of the important themes. If you remember the introduction chapter led by Srivala Prabhu, he talked about 5 themes of the Bhagavad Gita, and one of the themes of the Bhagavad Gita was the 3 modes of nature. And this is what this particular theme focused on. That particular theme is, which is the 3 modes of nature. Yeah. So the living entity is very pure. It's like this drop of rain which comes in, but as soon as the drop of rain falls onto the ground, it gets covered by all of the material world. It gets entangled there. Yeah. And that pure living entity, it comes in contact with the 3 modes of nature, God of goodness, ignorance, and passion, and gets conditioned. That's the word that Srila Prabhupada uses, conditioned, or the translation of the Sanskrit. It says conditioned or controlled. Yeah. Original, he is Satchit Ananda. Yeah, but it comes in contact with these 3 modes and gets conditioned. And based on this conditioning, he is forced to act. That is what the understanding is as to why we are doing. So what happens if you are in the mode of goodness? Yeah. So when you're in the mode of goodness, you're generally happy. Yeah. You are in requesting knowledge. So if you typically see, you will also experience yourself that many times you feel good. Oh, I have to give some money. Oh, this person is come. Let me give him some money. Let me help him. That is mode of goodness. Yeah. Also, many times what happens, you feel, oh, let me sleep. Yeah, today I'm tired. Yeah, I just want to sleep. And you just keep going to sleep, deep sleep. That is mode of ignorance. So every action is actually conditioned by these 3 modes of nature. That is what. So you are either in the mode of goodness, or in the mode of passion, or in the mode of ignorance. Many times, yeah, I have exam. Yeah, I have to study. Yeah, you're like very much forced in the mode of passion. You're trying to do something. Yeah. So like this, every action is conditioned by these 3 modes. And it is not that it is 100% goodness or 100% ignorance or 100% passion. Yeah, there is a combination. So many activities, there will be 70% goodness, 10% ignorance, and 20% passion. So like that. So there could be unlimited combinations of these modes acting on you and through your actions, these particular modes. But largely, if goodness is there, then what does goodness do? It basically it tells you to do good deeds. And because of these good deeds, what happens? You get punya karma. You get good karma. And because of the good karma, you go to heavenly planets, or you enjoy life, or you get good karma back, basically. That's what this mode of goodness does. Please note that the mode of goodness doesn't give you liberation. It is still a rope. Yeah, mode of goodness gives you good karma. Good karma makes you to come back again to enjoy the benefits of the karma of the good actions that you have done. So therefore, still you get birth, old age, disease, death because of good karma also. Yeah. Then the mode of passion. What does mode of passion do? It binds the living entity or the jiva, and there is no chance of liberation. Yeah. It is considered to be an advanced condition of mode of goodness. Yeah. Formally, yeah. So that's what it says. It basically binds through desire and attachment. Yeah. We all want to have desire, right? We want to come forward. I want to come first. Yeah, I have to study very hard. Yeah, so this desire is kind of pushing you. Yeah? That's what is causing you. So there is no chance of liberation. You keep coming into this material world because of mode of action, mode of passion conditioning. Lastly, mode of ignorance. Definitely, again, no chance of liberation. In fact, you fall down. Yeah, from a jiva, if you've got a human body, if you're in the mode of ignorance always, you don't want to understand any of this knowledge. You want to behave like an animal. Okay, next janma. We get reincarnated as a lower being, either an animal or a donkey or something, or a monkey or something, as what we will become. That is what is the mode of ignorance conditioning does. Yeah. So largely, mode of goodness conditions ones to happiness. Mode of passion conditions ones to fruitive actions. Yeah. And ignorance covers one knowledge and binds us to madness, indolence. We just are just trying to enjoy as much as we can, thinking there's only one life and I have to just enjoy here. That's what is this. Yeah, we've seen largely the differentiation. I'm not going to read all of these particular aspects, but we will send you through some way this particular chart to understand. Now, very importantly, we have to understand this aspect that between these three modes, there is always a competition. Yeah. So the mode of goodness is trying to overpower the mode of ignorance and the passion, whereas passion is also trying to do this. Yeah, trying to overpower the other two, and the mode of ignorance is trying to overpower the other. Now, who you fuel is what that particular mode will become more powerful. So we have to understand this particular aspect that we as soul with our intelligence can help to what I should say, fuel one of these modes. Yeah. So if you have to be largely in the mode of ignorance, you will do activities in the mode of ignorance. So there are two things which actually influence these modes. One is what kind of food you eat. So food is described in the Manu Samhita. It is segregated into three parts. Food in the mode of goodness, sattvic food, food in the mode of passion or rajasic food, and food in the mode of ignorance or tamasic food. And in the 17th chapter, we will see a bit more about this particular aspect. But this food, what kind of food you eat, is what kind of mode will become more pradhan, more important. So if you eat typically eating only tamasic food, then you will be always in the mode of ignorance, because you fuel that. That's one. So typically you say what you are is what you eat. So food is therefore a very important concept to understand, which that fuels the modes. The second one is association. Who do you associate with? Yeah, those are the ones. So typically we see this. Yeah, if typically our parents will say, "अरे इस पढ़ाकू लड़के के साथ तू दोस्ती क्यों नहीं करता है?" Why? ये पढ़ाकू लड़के के साथ ये दोस्ती करेगा तो ये भी पढ़ाकू बनेगा. That is what is the understanding. Yeah. So you try to kind of parents try to influence their children in that particular. Why? Because through peers is what we will learn. So that is what happens through peers. The mode of the peers is what you will get influenced by. So those particular modes you will kind of acquire. So these two things therefore are very important for us to understand, that what food we eat and who we associate with, that is what empowers a particular mode. And we'll see in a minute as to why we should be always in sattva gun, even though it is binding. Yeah, even though sattva gun is binding, why we should be always in sattvic mode is what we will try to understand when we go to the last section of this particular. But remember this particular point, that the modes are the ones which are forcing the living entity to act. Yeah. Now, which kind of mode you become, which kind of mode you fuel, that is how your actions will be. So if you're largely sattvic, if you have sattvic association, and if you have sattvic food, you will always be in the sattva gun. That is what is the understanding here. Yeah, that's what I have explained. And what are the manifestations? Yeah, so goodness or sattvam. How do you know I'm in the mode of goodness? Yeah, it is generally you're happy, generally you're illuminated. That's what it is. All the senses are kind of really very happy. It basically frees you from sinful reactions, but it gives you good reactions. Yeah, so that is one thing you have to understand. Even though it frees you from sinful reactions, it still gives you good reactions. How does passion manifested? Through intense endeavor. We will see, I have to become this, I have to go forward, I have to do this. Intense endeavor is there. That is mode of passion. Yeah. And mode of ignorance, delusion, laziness, indolence, yeah, is what you will see. Madness, inertia is what you will see. So if you know that I'm typically lazy, and that mode of ignorance is acting. If you see your child largely lazy, start giving him lots of sattvic food, so that his laziness will go away. Yeah, that's what is the understanding. So important point to in that particular section, in this particular section, is you can fuel the modes, and what mode you fuel, that particular activities is what you will do. Yeah. So what happens in each of these activities? We'll quickly go through, not much in detail. So if you are if you die in the different modes, so if you die in the mode of goodness, you go to heavenly planets, and of course come back down again. Why? Because you have largely done good karma. If you die in the mode of passion, you take birth again. Yeah. And if you die in ignorance, you go to animal kingdom. Basically, you take lower lives. That is what is the result of when you die in particular modes. In what kind of mode you are dying is very, very is what the action is. And different actions. So when you're doing various activity, we will see this. This is a further discussion in the 17th and 18th chapter on this. But when you do activities in the mode of goodness, a result is pious action. Yeah, happiness. You're free from illusion. Yeah, and we discussed this here. Results when you do activities in the mode of ignorance. This is what happens. Yeah, results passion results, and therefore largely what kind of food you eat, what kind of sacrifices you do, what kind of activities you do. If you are in the mode of goodness, those are different kinds of results. That is what you will get. Therefore, this mode of to understand this aspect is very, very important. Yeah, results. So that's what I described. So with passion, a lot of greed develops. So greedy and always hankering for sense gratification. If you indulge in mode of, if you do activities in the mode of passion, if you do activities in the mode of goodness, mode of ignorance here, indulgence, madness, foolishness, no knowledge, irresponsible. You cannot see things as they are. Goodness is where real knowledge starts to develop. Yeah. Therefore, largely, why is sattvic mode very, very emphasized in Vedic culture is because of this particular aspect. Yeah. And of course, destination, we saw where you will reach. Those who are mode of goodness typically go upwards to higher planets. Passion, I'm not going to repeat this. We've seen this particular aspect. Yeah. So now comes this other last part, which is why these three modes, all three modes are binding. So therefore, we have to go beyond the modes. That is called transcending the modes. Yeah. And that's where the real understanding is. That's where Krishna is. Krishna is beyond the modes. So if you have to reach Krishna, we have to go to Krishna's planet, we have to go beyond the modes. And therefore, if you see the three modes as steps, yeah. So if the lowest step is, we've all played probably as children on stairs, right? Where we would jump from one stair to the other. And somebody will say, okay, now jump to the fourth stair. Somebody will say, now jump to the third one. So jumping from second to the third is very easy. Or jumping from first to second is very easy. But if somebody wants to jump from first to the fourth, very difficult. Yeah. So if you see those three modes as three steps, mode of ignorance, mode of passion, mode of goodness. If three steps are there, then if you're largely in the mode of ignorance, and if you want to transcend, if you want to go beyond, then it's very difficult from mode of ignorance to jump. It's a bigger jump. Yeah. But if you're in the mode of goodness, from there to jump to higher is very easy. It's like the mode of goodness is like a launch pad. So we've seen rockets in launch pad. They all prepare everything and nice rockets are put in. And when you fire those rockets, it kind of goes in out of the Earth's orbit. So same thing when the jiva, it has to go out of this particular material world's orbit. This mode of goodness is a launch pad. Yeah. This sattva gun is very, very important, therefore. Yeah. And therefore we say that you have to be sattvic. Why? Because when you start meditating on Krishna, when you start the process of bhakti yoga, if you're in the mode of goodness, it is much more easier to always think of Krishna. If you're in the mode of ignorance and passion, then while you're chanting japa, then it starts impacting you. You start thinking, of all other things. It starts to create disturbance. Why? Because that's how your body is. So the intelligent thing, the best use of the bad bargain. Now we've got this body which has all the three ropes. How to make the best use of the bad bargain is to be in the mode of goodness, be in that launch pad, so that from there you can jump. You can go beyond the three modes. So if you're in Sattva Gun, it is very easy to go beyond the modes. To go into something called as Shuddha Sattva. So we have to be into Shuddha Sattva, not only in Sattva Gun. Sattva Gun is good enough, but it will only take you to the heavenly planets and bring you back again here. It does not give you liberation. Sattva Gun is still a rope. Yeah, the three ropes are there. So just Sattva Gun is not enough. You have to go beyond the Sattva Gun. That is what Krishna is talking about here. And that is to transcend beyond the modes. To go to do, when we do bhakti, that is what we are doing. When we do every action for the Lord's pleasure, we are not doing activity in the three modes. We're doing activity which is beyond the modes. That is what the result of this particular action is. So Arjuna says, okay, great. You've explained to me this concept that I have to go beyond the modes, but tell me, are there some people who do this? Yeah, are there people who do such kind of a thing? And what are symptoms of such kind of people? What are their behaviors? And most importantly, how does one transcend the modes? If I'm in the Sattva Gun, how do I jump? That is what he's asking Krishna. Very important question that he asked in the 21st verse. And Krishna starts explaining all of these particular behaviors. He says that this is how the behavior is. He's steady in all circumstances. He does not differentiate praise and blame, honor and dishonor, happiness, distress, desirable, undesirable. He deals equally. Earth, stone, gold, everything is same to him. Friend or enemy doesn't matter to him. Yeah, equally disposed to every being. So this is what the symptoms are of, and we've seen the Sthitadhir Muni earlier symptoms of this particular aspect. It's a bit of a repeat here. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, he has renounced material activities and is only doing spiritual activities. So that is a person who is doing, who's gone into transcendence. Therefore, if you heard of this word called transcendence, which means going beyond the mode, he's transcended the modes. He's become transcendental. That's what is the understanding here. Yeah, and how to, Krishna now answers this particular, how to go beyond the modes. Yeah, how to transcend. This is what Krishna gives in this particular second last most important verse. He says, Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samati taitan sagunan samati taitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service. Krishna is directly giving us instruction here. Bhakti yogena sevate. Yeah. So now you can't, there is no escape now. Yeah, that we have to do bhakti yoga through seva. That's what he says, seva. And again, what does that mean? It means we have to be in our original position of service. I told you, you're always serving somebody. If you don't have somebody, we take dogs to serve. But instead of that, why don't we start doing service to the Lord? That is called bhakti yoga. Bhakti yogena sevate. That's what he says. One who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Yeah, that he comes to, that he goes beyond this material world. That is where he comes to. This is direct instruction of the Lord. And therefore, if you all believe in the Bhagavad Gita is the truth and nothing but the supreme truth, like we do know in the court, they give the Bhagavad Gita, keep your hand. That jo kahunga, sach ke siva kuch nahi kahunga. And why you keep your hand? Because the Bhagavad Gita is a supreme truth. And the supreme truth is now telling you to do bhakti yogena seva, bhakti yogena sevate. Yeah. And why is that? That is the how part of transcending material world. That is the how part of transcending the three modes. So even if the ropes are acting on you, what are you doing? Because you're doing bhakti yoga, the ropes get destroyed. And you go beyond to directly to Krishna. Yeah? That is why this bhakti yoga is a very, very recommended process in this Kali Yuga. So Lord Krishna's third answers to the third question, method of transcending. This is the method of transcending. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnoho. The 9 processes that we saw. What happens? At once transcends the modes of nature and comes to the level of Brahman. And who is at the level of Brahman? Krishna describes that I am there. I am the basis of the impersonal Brahman. Yeah. So he says in the 27th and the last verse that I am the basis of impersonal Brahman. So we have to do this important. This is the shloka. Yeah. You take this shloka to heart, please. Yeah. Bhakti yogena sevate. We have to do this. And mam chayo vyabhicharena means that we have to be unfailing in all circumstances. Avyabhichar. Avyabhicharena is unfailing in all circumstances. So if you do devotional service 24 hours a day, with every activity with that thought process that I am doing this for Krishna. So many times what happens, you'll have this thought, oh, this activity which I'm doing, Krishna is not involved here. Then what do? You have to take the result of that activity and offer it to Krishna. So I go to office to serve. Now I'm serving my employer. Yeah. Now what do? This service, there's no Krishna involved in my office service. What do? The result of this service is what? My salary. What do? I use the salary for Krishna's purpose. A portion of that salary I use it for distribution of something. I use it for purchase of books. I use it for purchase of a laptop so that I can understand all of these aspects. So all these is what the phal is being used for Krishna. So if you have an indirect service that you have done, the result of that service can be offered to Krishna, then that service itself becomes Krishna conscious. That service itself becomes devotional service. And of course, the other part is when you're doing direct devotional service. Like you see this family here, they are chanting and dancing in Krishna. That is direct service that you're doing to Krishna. Yeah? So that is direct devotional service. Yeah. So both of these, the indirect action and the result of that indirect action given to Krishna is devotional service. Or if you do direct action and the result of that is directly going to Krishna. That is what transcends from this particular material world. That is what we have to And what does Krishna say? You come to the level of Brahman. And who is there in Brahman? Lord Krishna. He says, I am the basis of this impersonal Brahman. So that is the trick. Yeah. So with that, I will stop this 14th chapter. And hopefully that was a good gist of 13th and the 14th chapter. And we can now take questions after a minute or so from me. So maybe I will get help from, I hope Harinam Prabhu is there.
No, Jagan Prabhu will be joining you, Mohan Prabhu.
Oh, Jagan Prabhu. Welcome, Jagan Prabhu. So if you can help me with questions and maybe answer a couple of questions in the beginning.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
There is one question from Nitya Prasannam. What's the difference between praying and deity worship?
What is the difference between praying and deity worship? So praying is, so deity worship is just a method, one of the methods of praying. Praying you can do in many aspects, like doing japa is also praying. Yeah. Deity worship is when you're doing direct service to the Lord. Yeah. So for example, you nicely decorate the deity, the altar, the temple, you do abhishek to the deities. All that comes under deity worship. So deity worship is a very big subject. Yeah, but it is also part of praying because you're so much involved in direct activity doing devotional service. So that is what deity worship is. Praying could be any aspect. So deity worship is one of the methods of praying, basically, is how we can differentiate between deity worship and praying.
Hare Krishna. Also, Prabhu, they also say that praying is an universal language of being in communication or communion with the Lord. So deity worship is one of the part of the processes of praying. Praying can be anything. Praying can be singing, praying can be meditation, praying can be concentration, praying can be chanting and all.
Okay, so I am just going to the chat now. Sorry, I didn't. Sorry, Jagan Prabhu, you are muted.
Sorry, Prabhu. Prabhu, next question is Srinivasan Prabhu is asking, how can soul / one have ego if it is situated with Lord in Goloka? Basically, this question is, if you are in Goloka in the original form, why would we rebel? Because that's a state of a complete bliss and we are in union with the Lord.
So the understanding given by our Shastras and by our Acharyas is that every living entity is also having free will. Yeah. So when we love Krishna, we should be loving Krishna with our will. Yeah. Only then that love makes sense. Krishna can force us, but that is not real love. Yeah. So when we were there, out of our free will, we were serving Krishna. It's not that Krishna was forcing us there. Even in the spiritual world. Now the problem with this free will is what? It sometimes it tends to misguide. That's what envy comes in. Yeah. And this particular envy of the Lord is what causes us to rebel, basically. And that is what is the understanding given by our acharyas. There's a lot of references. We can go into detail, but it is a huge subject matter to understand and discuss. But I'm giving you a very short answer.
Yeah, and also the acharyas have told that somehow or other we have fallen from there to this material world. So it is more prudent to concentrate on how to get out from here, knowing the complexities of this. That is one thing.
Correct.
God has given free will because the very fact that he has created the living entities is that to enjoy his, to experience the enjoyment with the living entities. So when I want to enjoy something, I need to give that person whom I'm enjoying a will, a free will, whether to see that whether he voluntarily comes to me or he doesn't come to me.
Correct.
So that's why Krishna doesn't force us anything, because if he forces us, there is no enjoyment.
There's no love then, actually.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Okay, so
maybe I'll take the next one. What is the time taken for soul to take another body after death? So this is actually the subject matter of the Garud Purana. So if you really want to go in depth, you can look at the Garud Purana. But from what my understanding is, it is around 12 days. Therefore, we do this 12 days of and the 13th day is when he apparently gets into another body. Yeah, that is what is the understanding that I have. Jagan Prabhu, maybe you can help me here. But Garud Purana gives a detail about all of this, what happens to the soul after death, what are the things that he undergoes, and then how does he take another body again. And the overall time taken is 12 days, and therefore we do this Bharvi during most of the death situations that happen.
Yeah, I also do not exactly know, Prabhu, about the time, but the time could be a variant also. There is no fixed time that it will happen only like this. It depends on the case to case on what happens to the soul after it. Because we also believe and know that there is a concept called ghosts. Soul can go in a kind of a limbo state where it
doesn't have a material body. Yeah,
it takes a subtle body. So it all depends upon the situation. So there is another question, Prabhu. I think this is again on why did Krishna create three modes of material nature? I'm just skipping and going to the 14th chapter thing. Why did the Lord create the three modes of material nature?
So why did he create? It's actually we only created that. So when we said we wanted to enjoy, Krishna gave a kind of a method. So typically there are two understandings there. One is if you look at say a very good country, that very good country, everybody is very happy, but still, and it is ruled very nicely, and everybody is largely happy. But still, that country, even though however happy that country is and however good that country is, it will still have a jailhouse. It will still have a prison house. And why is that prison house there? Why does the government create this prison house? Do the government want to create prison house? They don't want to create prison house. If everybody is happy following all the laws, then there is no need of a prison house. Yeah. So this particular prison house is created. Why? Because people who are time and again breaking the laws, they need to be kind of kept in the prison house so that they can be corrected there. So the three modes of material nature are like our the rules in the prison house. So if prison house is there, the three modes of material nature are like this particular. They keep us bound here in this material world. That is what one of the understanding is of why three modes of material nature are created.
Yeah, another way of understanding Mohan is that the fundamental thing is that when we are living in the spiritual world and when we wanted to enjoy, a material world is created. So when we have to come to this material world, so we are in the spiritual world and we come to the material world. So we have to be conditioned. There has to be some condition to be there as a part of the existence in the material world. And that conditioning of material world is explained through these three gunas, that is goodness, passion, and ignorance. So the condition is what happens when the living entity comes to the material world. And the condition, for an analysis sake, for us to understand what is condition is about, they have divided into three parts or three gunas.
So there's an interesting question by Krishna Niranjan. Prabhu, I am a child, so I can choose what job I want in the future. So which job can I do in the future that is above the modes of nature? Yeah, very nice question. Yeah, it's very interesting to know that you're already thinking about Krishna. Yeah, thinking about this particular aspect. Yeah. So the beauty about Bhakti Yoga is that whatever job you do, yeah, you can be a Bhakti Yogi. Yeah. So it's not necessary that you have to, but of course, if you choose a job which directly helps you to do Bhakti Yoga, that is the job which you can choose. Yeah. So many times, yeah, but maybe that job might not be very good paying. So you have to be really start from beginning now, thinking about those particular aspects. Yeah. So many times what happens, it becomes impractical at times. Yeah. So we have to be really practical. We are in this material world. So you have to make the best use of the bad bargain. The best use of the bad bargain is that, okay, now I'm here. How do I make use of all of these materials so that I can go back to Godhead very easily? Yeah. So choose whichever job you choose. You can be a Bhakti Yogi. So what job you choose is not important, but whether Krishna is involved with, you are involved with Krishna at 24 hours of the day, that is important to understand. Yeah. So you choose any job, no problem at all. We are also living in Dubai. We are doing so many jobs, but we are trying to think of Krishna 24 hours a day. various ways we are trying to do all of these particular aspects. That is the important part. So which job you choose, no problem at all. You choose based on your material mode of nature, whatever is there, you choose that. Try to be in as much positivity that you can, so that can help you to go further. Fantastic question. Okay, so one more Priya Mataji is saying, if anyone has knowingly or unknowingly hurt someone, but later realizes of their act, will they be forgiven? Can Lord Krishna help the person to expiate that bad karma if the person has gotten a self-realization of his wrongdoings? Yes. Yeah. So if you see, when we take to the devotional process, there are 4 things we are not supposed to do and 1 thing that we are supposed to do. Yeah. So I'll tell you what those 4. So 4 things we are not supposed to do is we follow this regulative principles. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, and no illicit sex. Now, what do these 4 things do? They take care of our future karma. So if you are following these 4 regulative principles, you're not doing bad karma, which means you are not creating more bodies for yourself later. Yeah. But so you're taking care of your future bodies. You're taking care of future birth, old age. But now you're here, you have this 2 million births that you have taken, and each of that million births, there is a pile of karma that is sitting. How do you take care of that pile of karma? So our acharyas explained the only way to take care of your previous past karma is this process of japa. In the Kali Yuga, this process of japa, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, that you do every morning, that helps you in taking care of all your past karma. Yeah. So even to answer your question, of course, when you do your japa with this particular thought process, oh, I know I did a wrong thing, please, I'm sorry about it. And of course, if that person is there, you go and really sincerely ask for forgiveness. Yeah. And you do your japa, that particular karma will get reduced. Yeah. For example, but it will not become 0. Yeah. So that karma, that particular karma will come in and hit you, but it will hit you with a very low percentage. So for example, maybe that karma was supposed to, the bad karma that you have done, maybe it was supposed to cause you one big accident. Now, instead of the accident, what will happen? You will have a dream wherein you had an accident, and you will get this really bad feeling of the accident. And that is where your karma will get 0. Yeah. So that is what the interesting part is, that when you start doing devotional service, all your past karma starts get taken care of. But the corollary to that also is, you have to understand that, is that your past good karma will also be taken care of. Which means if you have done some good karma in the past, good action in the past, and in this life you're supposed to win the Meshach Millionaire, you will not win because you've taken to devotional service. So that's an interesting angle to consider. Hare Krishna. So I hope that answers Priya Mataji. So I think we are kind of totally out of time. It's already 9 o'clock. I hope this was clear. I know I rushed through a lot of things, but hopefully if you followed the verses along with me, it would have given you a good essence of what I was talking in the 13th and the 14th chapter. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Jai Govind Prabhu, you want to take over?
As a part of the summary, actually there is we will be sending as a part of the answer to one of the questions that already happened in the 5th and 6th chapter when I was answering about the 3 modes. We are going to give a very neatly depicted chart of 3 modes of material nature, which completely summarizes what you have told for the benefit of the audience. And it also answers one of the devotees' question on what is that activity that he should do for him to be over and top of the 3 modes of material nature. That chart gives the very beautiful illustration. So kindly wait for the question answers of 5th and 6th chapter to be published tonight. You will see in the appendix a complete summary of the 3 modes of nature, 3 modes of material nature in a very illustrative manner. This is a part of the course material that we have taken from a course that is conducted in London Manor, ISKCON London Center. So it will be very, very useful to all of you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Mohan Prabhu, and thank you very much, Jaganji. It's an amazing session. 2 chapters, quite a chapter to go, but you did it very nicely. Thank you very much. And a few announcement. As yesterday it was announced, we have posted 6 quizzes so far. Visit our web page known as bit.do/essence of Gita. So this is the page I'm sharing with you all. Okay, so come over here to the participant materials. So here there are Kahoot quizzes. We have uploaded 6. Another 2 will be loaded either tonight or tomorrow. Please do all these things. And also we want you to give us feedback. So it helps us to improve and serve you better. So again, tomorrow is yet another important chapter known as Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottama Yoga. So we have an interesting person coming over and taking that particular chapter. Thank you very much for joining us. So see you all tomorrow at same time, 7:30 p.m. UAE and 9 p.m. India. Till then, good night. Stay safe and good night. See you all tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.